All right, welcome everybody. We're going to get started with head coach Jay Johnson. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Our first question will go Michael Lev, Arizona Daily Star.
Good morning, Jay.
Morning.
What are the pros and cons of opening up against a team that you've already faced twice this season?
Familiarity, number one. Number two, I think that in reference to our opponent, it obviously will grab our players' attention. They'll be respected, and we'll know we need to put a good week of preparation in.
Sure. Very few of your players have postseason experience. I want to say maybe Tanner Otremba is the only one who's played in the NCAA tournament. Does that matter?
Not this year, because nobody in the country has played in the NCAA tournament in 2 years.
So you don't think that's a factor?
Not concerned.
One way or the other. Okay. What are your thoughts on the composition of the regional overall?
Well, it's a great field and it's to be expected. I think there were so many teams in contention for bids. You knew you were going to end up with 3 good opponents. So that is not a surprise to me at all. I think when looking at the teams, starting with Grand Canyon, I have a ton of respect for Andy Stankiewicz. He's a terrific coach. They've done a great job with that program. Greg Wallace, their recruiting coordinator, is one of the hardest working guys in the country. You know, I rarely go out in the summertime without seeing him. John Wente, their new pitching coach this year, was a longtime head coach at Central Arizona and really built that program, and their pitching staff is really good. And I'm sure his fingerprints are all over that, you know, and working with those guys on a daily basis. So ton of respect for Grand Canyon. You know, looking at the rest of the bracket, Oklahoma State, you know, they're a perennial NCAA tournament team, you know, 20-time, you know, Omaha type program, have great players. They're on TV all the time. So I've actually seen a lot of them this year, just, you know, casually. No, they're talented, and, you know, will be a good team. And then you see Santa Barbara, you know, very complete in terms of pitching. They had the best offense in the Big West. We're a very deserving team of being in the tournament that maybe didn't know they were going to be in the tournament. But for me, it wasn't really a question. So great field, you know, great coaching staffs for all 4 programs, great players for all 4 programs.
Sure. Obviously, it was like kind of feels like a million years ago, 2016, but you did face Oklahoma State, you know, 3 times in the College World Series, and UC Santa Barbara once. The players have all changed, but does it help you as a coaching staff at all to be familiar with the other team's coach, kind of how they play, what their style might be?
You know, maybe a little bit. I think, you know, the players in college baseball, it's not even year to year, it's day to day with this age group. So, you know, even with Grand Canyon, I mean, we played them May 4th, I believe. That feels like a really long time ago to me. So at least in terms of my preparation, I'm going to reboot and completely start over, you know, with their team. You know, in reference to the programs, I mean, Josh is a great coach. And it's kind of funny, and I've thought about this a lot this year. If I go back 15 years or 16 years or 14, 15 years in my head of, you know, when I was busting my tail and cutting my chops in recruiting and being out there, and you think about, okay, who were the guys, you know, really doing that? You know, at that time, it was Andrew Checketts, you know, the coach at Santa Barbara. It was Josh Holliday, whether he was at Arizona State or Vanderbilt. It was, you know, Mark Wazakowski, Andy Stankiewicz was at Arizona State. And so it's not a surprise that these are the guys that we're facing off against, and all these programs are really successful, and that bleeds into how their teams play. So ton of respect.
Next question, Alec White, Arizona Daily Star.
Yeah, Coach, you were pretty adamant over the weekend that Arizona was going to get a top 8 seed, and you were correct with that. And you had it pegged at, you know, 4, 5, 6, and you guys were 5. So I'm assuming you're pretty happy getting that 5 seed.
Yeah, I think it's only a number, but let's talk about the number for a second. There's 300 teams that play Division I baseball, so you're the top of the 1%. So I'm proud of the players for accomplishing that. And, you know, today was kind of the last celebratory day of what they've accomplished to this point. And so to have, you know, postseason baseball at High Corbett, to be in that position is a tremendous accomplishment. I think we're more than deserving of that number and that seed. Yeah, it could have been one better, could have been one worse, but they hire other people to decide those things. So now it's just about the play, and it's about the preparation, and that's my sweet spot, my comfort zone, mine and my staff strength. So we'll put our work on that to this point forward. But I'm proud of the players. I don't know this to be true, but I think it's the first time in program history that we've been a national seed since the format changed. If it's not the first, I think it's the second. But proud of the players for getting that done.
And then what did you make of the Pac-12 getting 6 teams in?
I thought it was a lock. I really did. I think, even a team like Cal had the personnel and the talent to do it. It's just a hard job for the committee this year. Just not all schedules were created equal. Not all seasons were created equal. Not all fall practices were created equal. So I kind of watched the show with like great interest this year of like, it was going to be a little bit different, and it probably was. Just really happy for our team and this opportunity.
Next question, Brian Peterson, Arizona Desert Storm.
Your team and Santa Barbara come into the tournament having played regular season games at the end of the season, though Santa Barbara had conference games, whereas Oklahoma State and Grand Canyon played in conference tournaments and played in high leverage games in their last game in the conference championships. Do you see one or the other as an advantage or a disadvantage right before the NCAA tournament?
Well, we played in a lot of one-run games against NCAA tournament teams. I'm comfortable with where we're at, and that's really all I have control over. So I think there's advantages to both. I think you're right. I think something that I've really tried to establish in our culture is that every game really, really matters. And I think this team has done a good job exhibiting that. And it feels like we've been in playoff baseball prior to being in playoff baseball. I think, if you're in a tournament setting, you kind of get the feel for that. But this weekend we hit in the cages instead of on the field, preparing for it being the second game. I had them show up a little bit later since we're going to play at 7 instead of 6. I think we only had one 7 p.m. game the entire year this year. So we tried to simulate that as best we could this weekend to prepare us for this coming weekend.
Is the fact that the last game against Dixie, that it went down to the wire, does that provide at least some semblance of like a great way to finish off and springboard, I guess?
Yeah, it was a special night. I think something I'm proud of this team is they are very comfortable competing in close games. And if you go back the last few weekends, great experience there against Dixie State, the Oregon State Sunday game, obviously the Washington game, the Friday the week before, the Stanford game, the Friday the week before. We had a close one against Cal, close one against Oregon, close one against Arizona State, close one against UCLA. So it's kind of, we've at least every weekend, Utah, it's kind of all we know, you know what I mean? And the boat race games are easy, you know what I mean? Like, they're not easy to get to there, but it's different. But I think our players have performed well in close games, and I think that is important going into the tournament.
Thank you.
Next question, back to Michael Lev.
What does it mean or could it mean to be able to play at home all the way through here should you advance?
I think it's enormous. I think it's validation of a job well done for the season, which we already know that. I think I take a lot of pride in how we play it at High Corbett Field, and I know our players do as well. I think there's some benefits of staying in routine a little bit, and it's a great home field advantage. And so we want to run this thing as hard and as far as we possibly can. And there's no place I'd rather do that than our home ballpark.
Will you always be in the third base dugout, or could you be in either?
No, they changed the rule a couple years ago. We'll use the home team, regardless if you're home or visitor, stays in the home team dugout. So we will be in the first base dugout the entire.
First base dugout. That's what I meant. Sorry,
Yeah.
not third base.
No, that's okay. And it changed. It changed. I think in 17, because in 16 when we played Louisiana Lafayette. It's like they have this system that's hard to figure out as far as home and away. But if you're the home team, you get to choose your dugout. And so somehow we ended up being the home team in both of those games in the regional final. And the first thing I said is, we're taking their dugout. And so Yeah, now I'm glad they don't have that rule anymore.
Sure. Have you ever noticed teams maybe facing a bit of an adjustment period when they play at high court for the first time because the dimensions are so different than what most teams are used to?
Yeah, I think that's anywhere. I really do. You feel it when you go for that Thursday practice when you're on the road, and everybody will be able to practice here Thursday. And so, yeah, I mean, I love playing here, and looking forward to playing here. And I think, I don't know what the statistics would be, but the home field advantage in college baseball is one of the most underrated things. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's an adjustment.
Is instant replay in effect for the
Yes.
NCAA tournament?
Yes.
Are you up on all of the rules and how many challenges and what you can challenge and all those types of things?
Yes, absolutely. We had it in Frisco, in the Frisco Classic, which was beneficial. And I'm all for it. I mean, in the Pac-12, we need to get that done next year. Have to get that done.
Next question, Ari Koslow, Daily Wildcat.
Is the expectation still for Silseth to pitch game 1, Urban game 2, and then TBD for game 3?
Yeah, we will not be announcing any starting pitcher for the entire postseason until the day of the game.
Do we have any more questions for Coach Johnson? Yes, Michael, go ahead.
What's the roster size for the tournament?
27, same as Pac-12 play.
Same as Pac-12. Okay. Do you, in the past, and maybe this is the case with a lot of teams that try to make a long run in the postseason, they kind of constrict their pitching staff. Like there's a certain number of guys that they trust, and they go to those guys over and over. In 16, you did that too. But do you feel like there are more pitchers on this staff that you trust than maybe any previous one that you've had here?
Yes. And I only laugh, Michael, because I mean, you've been here the entire time, and we made that run in 16 using 6 guys, and in 17, one of the best offenses in college baseball. 18, we actually pitched all right, but it was a very top heavy staff. The depth wasn't as good as you would want it to be. 19, I mean, again, Oklahoma football, on offense and on defense, frankly. And, I think, like I said, 7.5, 8 scholarships in pitching was to put us in position when you're in 5 games in 4 days in the NCAA tournament that you can do that. And we definitely can do that. And, we really were deliberate in how we did what we did this last weekend, to put all those guys in position to be their best for this weekend.
Next question back to Ari Koslow.
You guys faced Grand Canyon twice, like in midweek games, but now facing them on a Friday, does that change how you prepare for them at all?
For sure. I mean, you're going to face a different pitcher. Everybody's pitching staff in the opening game of the tournament, all hands will be on deck. So, and then they played 4-game weekend, so their 4 starters will figure into the bullpen mix for Friday. And like I said, with their entire team, I'll go back to the drawing board and start over. I knew we were playing them yesterday, not because I knew, but because that's how the NCAA tournament goes and unfolds regionally. So once I kind of went through and established they were going to be a 4 seed and not a 3 seed, I knew that's who we were playing. So I started it on that yesterday and spent a good deal of time on their weekend pitching.
One final call for questions for Coach Johnson. All right. Thank you, everybody. That's all for this afternoon.
Thank you, guys.